Hello peoples! So today I'm going to be talking about what it's like being in and out of treatment for an eating disorder. Little thing first, I have a fire alarm that's going to be going off this whole video. There it is. I'm sorry. In the future, hopefully that won't be the case. Hopefully you still watch the video, even though it's there. Just focus on my words. So like I said in the previous video, I started battling my eating disorder, I want to say in 8th grade, and I am now a sophomore in college. But due to this quarantine stuff, we have online classes now. Anyway, so I started going into treatment, like into a clinic, my freshman year of college. I was in outpatient, so, wow. Okay, I was in outpatient, and which means you only go like 3 times a week, and you have to eat dinner there along with like some group therapy and stuff like that. So that's what I did for my freshman year. I'll go into that later. Then the December break of my freshman year, I was bumped up to partial, so PHP, partial hospitalization. My goodness. Okay. And it was interesting. So basically for partial, you're there every single day, like a job, 9 to 5. Maybe it was actually like 8 to like 5:30, but you went for breakfast, snack, and lunch, and that was a whole experience. Okay, so going back to outpatient. So first I was in counseling, and they recommended me because they're just like, hey, you're not eating, maybe you need some assistance. So I was like, okay. So I went in, and I was 17, about to be 18, so they didn't put me into the adolescent part of the program. They put me straight into adult because I was almost 18 anyway. So I was there with like 20-year-olds and up, and I was like the youngest one there. It was really hard, but I did meet a lot of great people. I will say that one thing about being in treatment with people who are older than you, like, it can be inspirational because you're like, okay, great, like they're trying to get like a hold of themselves, they're holding themselves accountable and everything, but sometimes it can be hard because, like, for me, for example, it was hard for me because it made me think like, wow, I don't want to be battling this forever. Like, I don't want this to just be something that I never get to escape and keeps coming back around to bite me in the future, but that might just have to be my reality and something that I'm gonna have to learn to be okay with. Like, recovery is going to take time, and I have to be patient with myself. So outpatient was definitely hard in that aspect, that I was like the youngest one there. But into like the meal time, so you know, you have a meal plan and you have to like meet those qualifications per meal. And I was actually there in a wonky time where there wasn't that many people admitted. Like, there was a bunch, and then when I got there, people started getting discharged. So for like maybe like a week or two, I was just the only one there. It was just me and the clinicians chilling and vibing, you know. So that was fun. It was a lot of directness on me, so I definitely got like a lot of one-on-ones, got some coping skills. It was great, but I was still going through my struggles because freshman year of college, like, nobody's holding you responsible for what you're doing. So like, I got away with, okay, yay, I'm going into treatment, but as soon as I leave, like, I'm back to doing what I want to do. I would freak out because I'd be like, okay, well, I've been eating so much, like, I need to not eat as much, all that stuff. So that's a big thing that, you know, like, I still struggle with, but, you know, I'm learning to work through it. So partial hospitalization, like I was saying, it was every day, and it was definitely very hard to confront. It's like confronting your biggest fear, like, every single day, like, all the time, and it's just really mentally draining, especially when you're there for like 8 hours, or however many hours it was. I'm not even gonna try to hold you with my math. But especially when you're there for so long, and then you get home and people are like, oh, how is treatment? And I'm like, it was fine. I don't want to talk about it because I've already been talking about it all day in like group therapy. So like, there's group therapies, and I was in partial. There was a section that was about like trauma. So there was a trauma group that you could be in, and if you didn't want to, you could go and do something else. But I always sat in trauma because, you know, I want to confront stuff. I want to be able to understand myself and work through things. And There was also like a yoga meditation type portion too that happened on certain days of the week. When I was in partial, you got your blood drawn like every Tuesday, and you got your weight and vitals done. I don't remember. I don't remember how frequently we got our weight and vitals done, but that was a big thing too. But so what they do is you go into a room, they close the door, you change or whatever, get on the scale. You can't see the weight. Eventually I was able to talk my way into hearing my weight, because it's like a waiver you have to sign, and they have to think that you're ready. Not a waiver, but they have to think that you're ready and able to do it. So I got to do that. So after I would get my weight, whenever we would have like the one-on-ones with our clinician, I have to burp. Excuse me. Once we got the one-on-ones with our clinician, she would say like, hey, this is your weight, and then we'd have to evaluate it. So she'd be like, how do you feel about this? Are you stressed about it? And then we'd talk about it. And that was helpful for me, but they didn't offer that to everyone, like especially people who had very severe cases. Like they definitely wouldn't share the weight because it might make someone obsess over it, and then they'd spiral. So the levels are outpatient, and then you get moved up to partial hospitalization, which is both the ones that I did. I don't remember the order after this, but I know that there's inpatient, where I think you're in a hospital. Don't ridicule me about this. If anything, comment and let me know. But I know that there's inpatient, and where that's like the highest, I believe. That's not true. Maybe it is. I know that there's also resi, where it's residential, where I'm pretty sure you live with other people. Again, I didn't move up this far, so I will educate myself and post more about that. I'm just posting from my experience about outpatient and partial. And again, this was all within 1 year, my freshman year of college. I went for outpatient during the fall, and then I was like, yeah, I'm doing great. And then when I got my evaluation again, they were like, yo. And I was like, yeah, okay. So I went back. Also, highly recommend this app called Recovery Road or Recovery Record. I always mess it up. But so I had a problem with like calorie counting and all that stuff, and not a great thing to spiral into. So this app basically is about, sponsor me. This app is about, you get to log all the foods, but instead of counting calories, it's about like, oh, how are you feeling when you're eating this? Were you pushed to restrict? How big is your urge to restrict? How big is your urge to binge? All of that stuff. But I'll go into that more later. Back to treatment. I want to say like some pros and cons that I went through. Not pros and cons, but just like the ups and downs. I know one big middle point is when people get discharged, like you're in treatment and you meet people that get you. Like you don't feel crazy when you're around them. They understand, they get where your head's at, like, because I know like explaining it to people, for me, like, so I was anorexic, and talking to other people who weren't anorexic, they'd be like, yo, are you okay? Like, you're tapped, just eat. And I'm like, if one more person tells me that, I'm fighting you, because what are we doing? So that was a big thing. So when you're in treatment, you meet these great people who are like the kindest souls, and I still talk to a lot of the people that I met there, and it can be bittersweet because you meet them, you build with them, and then if someone gets discharged, you have to say goodbye, and that can be hard because you're like, I built with this person, I'm happy that you're discharged, but now I'm not going to be able to see you every day. And you build a lot with someone when you see them every single day, and it was really positive vibes, like especially when we had meal times, like everyone was trying to encourage each other, like, oh, you got this. And a big thing with recovery is like, you went, so you're already doing something for yourself if you got yourself to go to treatment. Like, it's just such a big step to be able to say, like, I don't want to be like this anymore, and I want help. Even if you're still going through those struggles, like if you're still having trouble with restricting or anything like that, at least you're able to say, like, I might need assistance, can somebody, or just talking to someone about it, just anything to know that you're not alone. Like, other people go through this, other people go to school for to be able to help you, and it's not like a pity case. I know that was a big thing that I struggled with like being like, oh, I don't want to feel pitied, like don't pity me, nah. But anyway, I can do like a part 2 of this sometime. I know I said I was gonna go like some pros and cons, but I'll go over that some other time. My first video was like 22 minutes. I don't want to do that again, so I'm just gonna stop it now, but hopefully this helps a little bit if someone's thinking about going into treatment. Like, it's not as scary as you might. I mean, it's definitely hard. Like, it's definitely hard. Like, I remember days hearing my weight or not feeling great and stuff like that, and having to face like some fears. Like, if you were underweight or if your vitals weren't good a day, you'd have to drink a Gatorade or drink whatever, and just watching them like take off the information, like the nutrients facts and stuff, that was hard to do. And you'd be like, oh, like, is that how people see me? Like, I'm automatically gonna go look at that. I mean, it was, but that's not the point. But it can be really hard because you're called out on your wrongs. Like, it's not just you being able to dwell into yourself and be like, oh, I'm gonna go this long without eating, or I'm gonna be able to do this, this, and this. Like, people are calling you out for like, oh, you realize that you did this, or I'm not going into specifics because I don't want to like cause anybody to go, but it's definitely, like, treatment is definitely something that can be hard for people. And I don't want to say it like a bad thing, but sometimes it's not made for everyone. Like, treatment can be like a triggering thing. You're surrounded by people who might be skinnier or bigger than you, and some people aren't ready to face that and or deal with it. So I will say that I think everyone should be able to feel like they can recover from their eating disorder. I don't wish an eating disorder on anyone. It consumes your head, makes you feel like you're going insane and that you're alone. Mental health in general, but I'll go into that some other time. But I don't wish that on anyone. So if you feel alone or anything, at least talk to somebody and try to slowly get yourself to get help, even if it's not just jumping right into treatment. Some people need that too. Some people need to just jump right into like inpatient and be like, help me, because if I do this by myself, like, it's not gonna work. Like, someone who might need inpatient going to outpatient, it's not the same. Like, you go in like, oh, I can do this, but in the back of your head, you're still like, oh, when I leave, I'm still gonna do whatever I want, which is what I did. And I paid the price medically, so I'll go into that some other time. I love how I said I was gonna end the video, but I am. So hopefully this helps. Maybe I'll make a part 2. But it was on my mind today, so I wanted to make this video talking about that. But it's like 12. Bye. Have a good night or day or whenever you're watching this. Okay, bye.